Alright guys, welcome to another Schmattz Outdoors video. Today is the final part of my beaver fur handling. Today is going to be boarding and then how I unboard my beaver when I'm done. So I have my table all set up here ready to go. We're going to quick show you what I got going on and then we'll get right into it. I'll probably skip through some of this just because it's pretty monotonous just pounding in nails. But anytime I have anything like important to tell you, I'll actually stop and slow down and show you what I'm doing. Alright, so what I have here, again, I have my table, but it's set up perfectly for these beaver boards. This is 1/3 of a sheet of plywood, so it's 4 foot by 32 inches. This table is made exactly for doing this. So basically I have a nice solid surface. My board has all the rings on there, so small, medium, large, blah blah blah, all the way to the biggest size. I will use my pelt scraper with the beaver once I get them put on. I just have a hammer, and I believe these are like 8-penny nails. I'm not real sure. They're about, I would say, 1.5 inches long, maybe 1/16 in diameter. I like them because I can hold them without smashing my finger most of the time. But yeah, so I just got them in a shell box just to keep them easy to get to, and then a flat screwdriver. So if your pelt is wet, I'll go around the edge and just pry it up like 1/2 inch off of the board, and that'll actually help it dry a little bit more even. So for now, we're gonna set this and this to the side. We'll grab my beaver pelt and we'll start the process of putting it on there. All right guys, so I have my beaver pelt here. This is a pelt off of about a 2.5-year-old beaver, about a 30-pounder. I already basically know before I weigh him on my board how big he's going to be, what circle he's going to be on. But we'll show you basically kind of how I determine. So what I like to do is I like to lay him out flat. So I just got him folded in half so he's skin to skin here. I basically like to just lay him flat on my board and kind of almost pull him tight and then let him lay down. He's going to be about 2 circles in is what I've figured out over the years from where he's naturally laying in this process. And I'll know after I get about 4 nails in. It's hard to see on there, but I actually have right here, there's a line that's the center line here, and I have it going all 4 directions. So the first 4 nails are going to be in those 4 spots. I usually start with the head. I'll do the head, then the tail, and then I'll do the 2 sides. Okay, so we'll get here by the head. Like I said, he's probably by the green, this darker color, so he's probably going to end up being on this green line here. I think there you can see where my center line is. So we're gonna fold him open here. Get him laying here. I'm pretty sure that's probably the line he's gonna go on. So just grab a nail. On the head end, you got the nose right here. I usually go about halfway between the nose and the eyes. So about right there. Okay. Oh, I went just a little bit less than the line. It's not exact science that it's got to be exactly perfect. Okay, so I'm halfway between the eyes and the nose, right in the middle of the head. What I like to do is I like to do this. Just throw a few nails right in the middle. Then I don't have to worry about, once I get going, I don't have to worry about it. So here's the tail of the beaver. You got both sides, you know, this would roll together. I grab the 2 corners and kind of pull it tight and then flop it back until I get, and then I can figure out right where the center of that is. I try to leave, because I'm going to trim some of this off because you can't flesh that, so I'm going to leave my nail in about 1/2 inch or so on the butt end. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the side, and I'm watching my center line right here, and I'm pulling it tight to this nail and tight to that nail, and I'm trying to keep my finger directly on the center. So what that's going to mean is I have this much hide on this side as I do on this side. So when I go to nail it around, one end doesn't end up being too tight where the other end's really loose. You can cheat just a little towards the head end because you have a little, you need a little more almost on the head end. I think that's going to be about perfect, but all right, we'll get over here. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to pull it tight, find my center line. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of do the same thing, go somewhere in between, pull it tight so I'm tight to that nail, tight to this nail, find kind of where I think the middle of that is. Okay, and basically once I get 8 nails in, I'll know, and I'll be able to show you kind of what I'm looking at. If I have him pulled too tight, not tight enough. So I'm going like about a 1/4 inch in. So I do one little tap, and what that does is it pounds my nail through the hide, and then I can move it around to get it lined up with the line. Okay. So again, I just do like one little tap to kind of puncture the hide, and then pull it out to the line. Okay, now what I kind of do is I actually kind of pull it out to where the line is. And see, just how it's naturally laying, and I have plenty of slack in the middle there. I'm basically on the line, or just short of it, all the way around. If I kind of, just roll it out, this is the tail it'll pull. There's a little slack by the back legs. So again, I'm about perfect. If this was pulled way in like that, all the way, like each one was pulled like that, then I know I have it too big. If I can pull this and it hangs out and I end up with a huge amount of slack in the middle, I know that I'm making it too small. I can go out a little. And a lot of times it only ends up being, like you can see, like I went a half a line just to get it so it's a little bit tighter. But all right, so we're gonna go, and basically now the whole process, I'll show you one more set, but basically the whole process is now to go like one in between again, split each one in half again. But what I'm actually gonna do on the head end here, I'm actually gonna do 3 nails instead of, or 2 nails in between instead of just one, just so it lays there a little bit nicer. So on the front here, so you can see how this kind of rolls back, how it naturally would want to set. Here's the nose and all that. I am going behind all this like whisker heavy cartilage stuff and putting my nail in, because I'll cut all that part of the whole nose off. Okay, so I put 2 in between up here. The rest of these I'm just going to put 1, and again I'll know before I get all the way around if I have them too tight. And once I get going, I mean, I can pound in the nails really quickly. See, and this is where it pays to have them laying in the middle out there, because then I don't have to keep reaching for the box and all that. All right, again, you could see it's pulled in a little, but I still have quite a lot of slack in the middle here. So as I go around, it will tighten that all up. That's about perfect for this beaver. Again, like I said, just naturally laying here, I mean, I only have to pull it out like that much and you're in line with where you want to be. All right, so that's probably all I'm going to show you just for right now. We'll see if, like I said, if I get to a point where I see something else that I want to explain to you, I'll turn you guys back on. When I get to doing the legs, I'll show that. And then up here, basically all I'm going to do is put a line between this nail and that nail straight across, because then all this real fat cheeky stuff will all get trimmed off when I get it all nailed on. And basically I'll keep kind of going straight, so part of this loose flap will all go. So basically from this nail to that nail, all of this part of it will all get trimmed off, kind of the edges of the cheeks. All right, we'll turn you guys back on if I got anything else to show you here. All right, guys, so I got this thing nailed on. I go about every inch all the way around. I mean, that one's a little wide, some of them get a little narrow. Down here on the butt, I like I said, I leave my nails in just a little, and I'll go along and I'll trim all this off, plus these two corners off. I still got to nail the legs. I'm going to show you how I do that. And then on the front, like I said, I will go around and cut the lip off on the front. But I'm going to show you how I nail the legs here. So on the front, I just use 2 nails. On the back, I use 3. So basically what I try to do with the front leg is I just pinch it so it's sticking up. And then I put my nail about where like the main part of the hide starts to go up. And then I'm squeezing my nail into my finger and I'm pushing it that way, like out into the hide. This part of it's not really going to stretch. Sometimes like the neck is always gets kind of tight on my beavers. So by pushing the leg that way, I feel like it tries to push as much hide as I can towards where it always gets the tightest. Okay. So I just pounded it through. And then what I do with my second nail is I basically just go directly on the opposite side of it, right? Basically doing the same thing. So my 2 nails are essentially pinched right tight together, and then I leave my leg just like that. I don't pull it up too high or nothing like that. And then for the back leg back here, I try to basically do the same thing. So I try to make a slit out of it. You can see how it naturally wants to kind of set like that. So I go right in the middle of the slit on my side, like a 1/4 inch from the edge. I just tap so it punctures the hide, and then again, then I'm pulling it out towards the rest of the hide, and then pounding it in. And then I put 2 nails on the outside, pulling back. So basically I'll get about halfway between the end and where this nail is. I'll put a nail on the other side, tack it just so I got the hide, and then I pull that kind of at me so it's in line with this nail. And then I do the same thing on this side of the... So you can see how nicely that kind of like zigzags that slit, but it basically shuts it, and it will dry basically completely tight. Like from the first side, you can hardly see there's even a hole there. Some guys sew them and all that. I've talked to several fur buyers, and not one has told me that the way you sew or way you handle the back legs matters at all when it comes to the price of your pelt. So until somebody tells me that I'm losing money, or can prove to me that I'm losing money on the way I do my legs, this is how I'm going to continue to do them. There's no reason to have the sewing needle and all that stuff if I can just pound in 10 nails total here, 2 for each front leg. So again, I just pushed out as far as I could. You know, I didn't like make it super tight in there, but took kind of the slack out, and then I kind of just pull. So there we go. Front legs are nailed on. Back legs are nailed. We're going to start with my knife here. I think before we I just want to make sure it's good and sharp, so we're just going to give her a couple good licks on the stone. Sharper it is, the easier this works. So I'm going to start. You can kind of see how right here I left a little extra and it gets more, and then you got all this real thick lip, and then it tapers down on this side. So I'm going to start right by this nail here, and I'm pushing down pretty hard here. And once you kind of get it started, then I actually just kind of use my knife, and I'm pulling pretty hard with this hand, pulling out as I go. Okay, it tore off a little bit. We're gonna cut that little lip off there. So you see how nice that kind of flushed up that whole edge. Looks real nice now. Okay, and then on this end here, we're gonna do the same thing, starting right here, kind of where like the sides of the tail are. We're gonna cut right here. And basically, I only need to trim off just that last little edge where I couldn't get the, like that, you know, when you're fleshing, you don't get that cartilage trimmed off. Some of this probably didn't even need to be trimmed, but okay. All right, I maybe took just a little more than I wanted to right there, but makes that whole edge look real nice. Okay, then I take my pelt scraper here, and I'm going to use the sharp side of my pelt scraper. Just get me a rag here. All right, so what I do is I basically, okay, so you could see, hopefully you guys could see how much slack is in that pelt. You know, like it is not tight by any means really on there. It will dry down nice and tight. You know, it'll be super tight by the time you... So I basically am going to take my pelt scraper, the sharp side of it there, and I'm just going to start scraping around kind of the back. And I tend to scrape from the edges towards the middle of the hide. Alright, you can kind of see the gunk that it builds up, so that's why I grabbed the rag. And it just takes off that last little bit of fat if you didn't get it all completely, and a little bit of the grease. So again, I'm just scraping from the outside towards the center. I don't need to get right to my nails necessarily. And then I'm just wiping it off in this rag just to keep, so like there, I hope you guys can see like how much, like scraping towards the middle, how much slack gets in the middle. This actually cleans a little of the dirt off too. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the middle tight to one end so I can kind of scrape that middle area too. Alright, so now I'm going to kind of pull the slack back to the middle, kind of even it all up. Last thing that I need to do, and my pelt is not wet. This one's perfectly dry, so I'm not going to do it all the way around. If my pelt was wet at all, like any moisture in there, I would do this all the way around and pull the legs and everything up. But basically, like if it's wet, right now this is nailed tight. If my pelt was wet on the backside, I basically take my flat screwdriver and just run it in. And you can see how that raised that up like a ½ inch, and I'll basically just go like right in between the nails. Actually, you know what, I'll just do it on this one. And I'm just going to keep going all the way around. If it doesn't automatically slide up, when I slide it in, I can just tip up a little. Like sometimes like the nose and the butt here. So yeah, and it doesn't take much. I'm just sliding it in. Oh, and then the legs here, I basically just take my screwdriver under that and just pull it up a little bit. So it's at the same height as all this. I'll try to show you a little better on this leg here. So what I do is I just, because I'm going to do this nail first, so I go behind it, pull up a little, see I can move it way up if I want. And then I'll do the outside too. I'm just going to make sure they're all even. The front leg, I just pull up. You know, just grab it and pull up, and it goes up pretty easy. Again, the nose, sometimes that doesn't slide up just the easiest. If you have your pelt pulled too tight, like it seems like, you know, if you over tighten it when you're hammering it, then this doesn't work very good. Like my hide's pretty slack, so it moves pretty easy. All right, so you can see all the way around, you know, I'm up off the board a little. I don't know, it lets a little air kind of get in there. I don't know if it does me any good or not, but that's what I've been told to do. So when my pelt is wet, I'll do that. If it's dry like this one was, typically I'll just leave it nailed right tight to the board. All right, I think the next part of this video will be, I'll show you how I take this guy off of there, and then I'll show you how I clean the pelt up when I'm all done. All right, if you guys like what you've seen in this 4-part series, let me know. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment if you see anything I could be doing different or better or easier. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on the next video. All right, guys, so I got my Beaver here. He's dry. He's been drying, I don't know, roughly a week or so. Depending on, it was a little cold down here, so he didn't dry quite as quick as normal. If I keep it like working conditions, so like in that 65, even maybe up to 70 degrees, 3 or maybe 4 days, he'll be completely dry. I don't know if you guys could see or not, but like, see how he's really shiny right here? So after about 3 days or so, I come down here and I wiped him off. Just try to remove a little of that grease. And before I start here, we're going to do the same thing. So we'll just, anywhere where he looks like he's a little bit greasy, we're just going to wipe off any of that excess grease. Because if you leave it on there, it seems like they don't store quite as well. So I like to make sure I get all that kind of wiped off the best I can. Okay. And then what I use, I just use a little chunk of 2x4. Because that's about perfect height for the, I think these are 8-penny nails. So this 2x4 is about perfect height. And then I use a straight claw hammer. And this is just a real short handle. I don't know. I've used it for this for years. And then I just take, I got a gun shell box. And I just throw all my nails in there. They're easy to get out of there. I just either can reach in and grab them or I just dump them out. And then it's easy to put them back in there. So I'm going to do here, I'll just show you a few of them, taking them out, and then I'm going to put you guys on a time lapse, and you should be able to watch me kind of go all the way around the fur. I'll take them all out, and then I'll turn you guys back on a normal video, and I'll show you what I got going on. I just wanted to point out, so like some guys might look at this and say I overstretched him. I actually underfleshed it a little bit right there, right where the trap hit him, right here. I don't know how well you guys can see that. But the trap was on him right here, goes around and right over here. That's where the conibear was on him. And it seems like it always kind of leaves those little spots on me when I flesh them, where it don't, I don't always get it cut real down as far as I maybe should have right there. And I don't know. I've always had kind of issues with that, but otherwise, you know, he's nice and tight and dry. All right, so a quick show you here. Maybe I can get you down just a little bit here. Let me get you a little better look at what I'm doing. Alright, so what we're going to do, I'm going to show you like right here. So basically all I do is I just stick my hammer on my board here and I just hook under the nail. I don't pull the nail all the way out. So you could do this and now I got the nail. Well, now it's stuck on my hammer and I go to try and grab the next one. It don't work that well. So what I actually typically do is I just basically just give it a little pop. That nail is loose. Well, I pulled it out, but the nail was loose. It was just standing there. So like here, we're just, get my hand out of the way. So I just give it a little pop on the next one, on the next one. And I just work my way around, all the way around. So all I'm doing is just hooking on the head of the nail, just popping it out. And I could go pretty quick all the way around. Then I got my leg hole here. So I usually just try to take one and then I actually pull them out of there. Okay, so I got my leg loose. So now just in that little bit of time, you can see this whole edge is all loose. The nails are still stuck in there. Well, now I can just go along and just pull the nails out. Kind of keeps them from going all over the floor. Some of them pull out harder than others, so by leaving them in there like that, they don't get caught up in my hammer. I don't have to force my hammer to try and get them out. But otherwise, like I said, I'm going to turn you guys on like a little time lapse. I'll pull all the nails back out of there, and I'll get them loose from the board, and then I'll show you what I got going on. Alright guys, so you can see I got all the way around it. My pelt is actually completely loose from the board. So now all I do is I just go around, and like I said, I basically just grab the nails and just slide them out. And by leaving it, like I said, by leaving the nails in the hide, it kind of simplifies it a little bit as far as I'm not getting caught up in my hammer, and then I can go. It maybe took me 2 minutes to go all the way around this thing and get them all broke loose out of the board. I also don't pound them in super far. Like I'm maybe a 1/4 inch into my board, basically just enough to get it to hold. So up here by the nose, like here's the eyes. By the nose, usually this is a little bit thicker hide and they stick in there a little bit harder. So by kind of holding it and going right along with my other hand and holding it, makes it nice, you know, so you can pull on it nice and easy. So I'm basically just grabbing like 4 or 5, just whatever I get in my hands, just so I'm not dropping them all over. And then I'm just throwing them in my box. Alright, all my nails are in my box. Here's my nice little beaver pelt. So this was like a 2.5-year-old beaver. And I don't know if you can kind of see, but you see how like all the fur is kind of laid. So when you put them on the board, you can kind of prop them up off the board if they're a little bit wet or whatever, and it will help the fur dry, which this one's plenty dry. And then what I do 2 things with them. So I just got a dog comb. It's got fairly aggressive teeth, 2 rows of them. And usually I'll just kind of comb. You can kind of see how fluffy, you know, this is compared to this is all matted down. I don't usually get too carried away combing them. Usually it seems like the beaver are always kind of a little bit greasy. So I feel like if you over comb them, you take a lot of that kind of grease out of there, then they don't look very nice. So all I'm kind of doing is just, I'm combing it against the grain towards the head. They don't look maybe the nicest when you get them combed this way until you know, just because some of the fur stands up, some of it don't. Alright, so you can see I took a little bit of fur off. But you see how he's kind of, you know, now he isn't really fluffy or ain't sheeny anymore. You know, he's kind of fluffy. And then I'll actually just take it and give it a good kind of shake. You can kind of see it all kind of lays right back down where it should. But it's actually fluffy, you know. You can see where my fingers push down into it, you know. And then what a lot of times I'll do is I'll hold them by the tail. So this is the tail. I'll hold them by the tail, and then I'll take an air hose and just blow them, and it'll blow any of the dirt and debris. Like there's a little bit of blood right here, I see. It'll actually blow all that dried blood and everything right out of the pelt, and it'll really fluff them up nice. And I don't get too carried away, but like, I don't know how well if you guys can, but like right in here, there's actually like sand inside of his fur. So it'll just blow all that sand right out of there. This isn't a bald spot, that's just his front leg, just the way the fur was laying there. But yeah, that's a completed beaver pelt. Like I said, I'll take them out, and I'm not going to show you because the air compressor's loud, but yeah, I just take the air hose and I'll basically start at the tail and just kind of fluff them up. When I'm done blowing them out, I'll just give them a good shake like I just did, and the fur will just kind of go back to its normal state, which is somewhat, you know, half fluffy or whatever, and he'll be ready to sell. Again, this is a spring caught beaver, so I'll just stick this guy in a fur bag and keep him in kind of a cool, dry spot over the summer. And by the time fall comes around, he'll be just fine, and I'll sell him with any fur I catch this fall. I just want to say I appreciate you guys watching this beaver handling series. If you guys have any questions about any part of this beaver series or any of my videos at all, leave comments below and I'll try and respond back as I see them. Otherwise, thanks for watching Schmattz Outdoors. We'll see you on the next one.